Howdy gamers. Let's talk about top lane and I suppose mid lane. The runes do transition to the two roles. It's just really dependent on the matchups and the champions that you're playing into. So his major keystones are Press the Attack and Conquer with like the potential to run Grasp. Grasp isn't that good on Renekton as the extra damage that you're going to be adding isn't that impactful. He wants more AD versus a little bit more healing. With Grasp, you deal magic damage equal to your max health, and then you heal for a little bit, and you permanently increase your health by 5 every time you'd use it, and then you end up in the resolve tree with something like this. So with that, you lose out on a lot of damage tools that are present in the precision tree, mainly Conquer, and then either Coup de Grace or Last Stand. Conquer giving you AD, Coup de Grace giving you 8% more damage to champions below 40% health, and then Last Stand giving you more damage against more damage whenever you're lower on HP, which is exactly what Renekton wants to be doing. You want to be lower on health and then using your Q to like immediately turn the fight in your favor. So again, your major keystone options are Conquer and Press the Attack. I think Press the Attack loses a lot of value on Renekton as you trade off so much that Conqueror offers, because Conqueror has so much synergy with Renekton's kit, giving you bonus AD and then also healing once fully stacked up, and all of that goes hand in hand with how Renekton's trying to play out a fight where he's building up his fury and he's building up his damage and then tanking so much and then turning it on the enemy. With Press the Attack, you have the benefit of having more burst, and that's really it. Like if you're playing into squishier champions, you would already be killing them, but then once you start team fighting, Conquer can be applied to like every single champion that you would be hitting, as you would have the bonus AD. Press the Attack can only be applied to one target, so it's not really how Renekton plays out. And then to trade off all the AD offered from Conquer, it just feels bad. But Press the Attack gives you more burst. So in that sense, I do think Press the Attack is easier to use. I think that it does have its huge utility as it's going to help you solo kill a lot earlier, especially in the mid lane as the champions are squishier. And then with that, if you're just snowballing the lane from there, you're probably winning a solo queue game from that point on. And in the top lane though, missing out on Conquer, if you're playing into bruiser champions, you lose a ton of value because they're building up Conquer of their own, so you're missing out on this AD value. And then once you both would have Conquer fully stacked, and then you're trading auto for auto. And then with Renekton, you're really waiting for the second rotation of your Q or your W, and then with that, you turn the whole fight against the enemy if you land it on them. And then Conquer amplifies that effect through having the 15% healing and then also the extra AD behind it. Press the Attack could also be pretty useful into tank matchups, as whenever you proc Press the Attack, it deals a flat amount of damage based on your level, and then it also deals adaptive damage. So even if the enemy is building a lot of armor, Press the Attack would deal its damage and magic damage. And then you also expose the enemy, making them vulnerable and increasing you increase the percentage damage they take from all sources from 6 seconds. So if you just auto W'd and then spent a full rotation on the enemy, you'd be amplifying all of that damage by a percentage. So against tanks in the top lane, it would be okay. But against those same matchups, if you concede a laning advantage against them and instead have a team fighting tool and Conquer, I suppose it's just a trade-off at that point. So you do have a potential better laning tool in Press the Attack, but then in team fights, Conquer would inevitably be stronger, as the bonus AD offered would be, if you're on top of multiple enemy champions, would be more impactful and then serve Renekton's like theme a lot more. So regardless of the keystone you go, you're going to end up in the precision tree, and then your best option, the second rune, is going to be Triumph. Something like Overheal can't really be built up for Renekton, and then the bonus shield would be pretty negligible. With Triumph, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. Pretty useful and pretty synergistic with Conquer, as you're spending your HP as your main resource as Renekton, and then in fights, getting a kill or assist is going to help you stay in the fight to survive longer, again, to get another rotation of your WQ off, and then that hopefully puts the fight in your favor from that point. For the second rune, your good options are Alacrity and Legend Tenacity. Alacrity giving you attack speed, and then Legend Tenacity giving you Tenacity. If you're playing into like any CC at all in the top or mid lane, Legend Tenacity is going to be your best bet. With Renekton too, he really sucks at like staying onto targets, so or getting onto them in the first place. So with Legend Tenacity, it just helps you get onto them and stay onto them. With Alacrity, if you're playing in the top lane, and if you're playing against, well, even if you're playing in the mid lane, if you're playing against champions with like no damage downtime, I think Alacrity can be completely fine. Mainly champions like Fiora and Irelia. If they always have an auto attack up and you don't, you're just simply like not going to be able to match their damage trade. And the Tenacity isn't going to help you in those matchups as much. And without the attack speed, you're just missing out on damage, and then you're also missing out on like potential Fury built up, therefore not getting the more empowered abilities and then just more damage. So against those matchups, I think Alacrity would be completely fine. But in most cases, Tenacity's going to be your go-to, as mid to late game it's going to be helping you actually get onto targets and stay onto them. For the fourth rune, you have good options in Coup de Grace or Last Stand. I think if you're running Conqueror, you should run Last Stand, but I think if you're running Press the Attack, then you should run Coup de Grace, as you have more potential to soul kill your lane and then burst them. And with Coup de Grace, you deal 8% more damage to champions who have less than 40% health. So that's going to help you finish them off. And it's mostly going to be amplifying the damage from either your empowered ability after your initial burst or just from your auto attacks. With Last Stand, it has more synergy with Conquer, as you're spending your HP initially to build up not only your Fury but then Conqueror stacks. And with Last Stand, you deal 5 to 11% increased damage to champions while you're below 60% health, and then the max damage is gained at 30% health. So with that, in combination with your ult, and then in combination with Conquer, you're able to get more value out of playing at lower amounts of HP. And as you're doing so, you're dealing more damage with the ult, with your autos, and then with the second rotation of your Q or W. And with that, if you're dealing more damage, then you're healing more from Conquer. It just has way more synergy, especially in a 5v5 scenario. And that's where you really start getting a ton of value out of Renekton versus just amplifying like the damage that you could deal to your lane opponent with Press the Attack, or to a single target in a team fight with Press the Attack. For the secondary runes, the most common thing that I see is Demolish with Bone Plating, which is so weird. I don't think that Demolish is that good, and to miss that on Overgrowth seems really weird for Renekton. Overgrowth gives you health for basically existing in a lane. With Overgrowth, you absorb life essence from monsters or enemy minions that die near you, permanently increasing your maximum health by 3 for every 8. Whenever you've absorbed 120 minions or monsters or enemy minions, you gain an additional 3.5% maximum health. So this is going to give you a little over a ruby crystal for free, and that's a lot of gold value. Like if you're not winning your lane, then you don't even get to get value out of Demolish. So even though Demolish would help you in a split push situation as well, I just don't see it like really giving you huge amounts of value. With Bone Plating, it's going to help you in most melee matchups. With Bone Plating, after you take damage from an enemy champion, the next 3 spells or attacks that you receive from them deal 30 to 60 less based on your level, and then it's on a 45-second cooldown. So whenever let's say an Irelia lands a stun on you and then Qs onto you, a lot of that damage is going to be blocked by Bone Plating, and then you're able to retaliate. So they have to get through like what's basically an invisible shield if they're diving onto you, and then they start damaging you. But it's only useful against champions that dive onto you, because if it's a ranged champion, they can just auto attack you once, and then Bone Plating's procced, and then it's on cooldown for 45 seconds, and no damage was blocked by Bone Plating, and then they can spend a full rotation on you again, or just auto attack you again. So in ranged matchups, and even in matchups that are melee where they have poke abilities, champions like Rumble, Ornn, Mordekaiser, they're short range champions, but they have these medium range poke abilities, you gain more value out of Second Wind. With Second Wind, after you take damage from an enemy champion, you heal for 4% of your missing health plus 6 over 10 seconds. Even in some just strictly melee matchups, Second Wind could be completely fine, as you heal for 4% of your missing health. So in combination with Conquer, Last Stand, and Renekton's kit in general, you're going to be skirting around that lower amounts, like lower percentages of HP, in a like less dangerous way. So with Second Wind in context of the laning phase though, where you heal for 4% of your missing health plus 6 over 10 seconds, that's every time you take damage. And then with that, if the enemy, if let's say an Orin lands a WQ onto you, a little bit of that's going to be healed up. If you're running Doran Shield, it's even more brutal for them. If you're playing into any ranged matchup, if you have Doran Shield plus Second Wind plus just Renekton's natural regen, it's very hard for them to actually push you out of lane. So it becomes a really, really effective laning tool. You could run Domination second, I suppose, with something like Ravenous Hunter and then Taste of Blood. With both of these, it's kind of similar to Second Wind, but it has to be used more aggressively and is more useful in the mid lane as trading against squishier champions, and where they can deal damage to you earlier too gains more, I don't even know how to say it, it's more likely. With Taste of Blood, you heal whenever you damage an enemy champion, and it's only on a 20-second cooldown. And then with Ravenous Hunter, you heal for a percentage of damage dealt by your abilities. So in the mid lane, this gains more value because you can actually stack up Ravenous Hunter quicker. Because with Ravenous Hunter, it's based off a Bounty Hunter stack. A Bounty Hunter stack is a unique takedown on each individual enemy champion. So in the top lane, you can maybe solo kill your lane and get one Bounty Hunter stack, but then it's harder to get it on every single champion on the enemy team from the top lane. In the mid lane, it's a lot easier as you have more access to skirmishing in the jungle earlier or just moving into the bot lane in general. So it's easier to stack up, and then also you don't really need the laning tools of Resolve in a lot of matchups in the mid lane. So against like most control mages in the mid lane, something like this would potentially be giving you better value if they're shorter range versus something like Bone Plating Overgrowth or even Second Wind Overgrowth in the mid lane, as in the mid lane you're either pushing them in or getting pushed in. There's not like as hard of freezes versus in the top lane, as top lane's a longer lane and the minions just take longer to get there. Therefore, lulled laning states feel more brutal. So that's really it for Renekton runes. That's all I got to say. I don't see anything in the sorcery tree really giving you that good of value. Something like Nullifying Orb and Transcendence would be good into specific matchups like Mordekaiser and Rumble, as you get the magic damage shield and you also have some scaling with Transcendence. You could even run Absolute Focus on Renekton, but lower value. This would be like if you're trying to run Press the Attack and then coup de grace and burst them down or something, which is kind of whatever. And then for the inspiration, nothing really outweighs what could be offered in the laning tools from Resolve and inspiration, as the best you could get would be like Cosmic Insight and then Perfect Timing. So that's that. And then for the adaptive runes, it's always going to be adaptive force, and then the resistance is going to be based on your matchup. So if you're playing into an AD matchup, armor is going to be obviously what you want, and if you're playing into an AP one, you can go magic resist. If you're playing into a mixed matchup, let's say like Ornn, you could probably just go magic resist as well, and then since you have so much scaling armor in your levels, it'd be completely fine. And then if you itemize armor too, it's a lot cheaper than the magic resist, so something to consider depending on your matchups. So that's my thoughts on Renekton runes. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them. If this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. You could also subscribe, but you don't have to. You could though, like you could. You know, check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/SarNelson. Links in the description. You could check it out, you know. So yeah, Renekton. I actually mained Renekton. He was one of the first champions I played. I played like Nasus and Renekton. God bless, man. I couldn't last hit on Malphite. Everyone said play Malphite. He's easy. I would be like 20 CS at like 10 minutes on Malphite. It was pathetic. And then I locked in Renekton. I'm like, damn, I can just beat my laner's ass. This is sick. And I can actually hit the CS. Solid champion. Love the Gator boy. Peace out, man.